I walked in and I said, I want to work here. And they're like, we only have a receptionist job. And I'm like, I'll take it. You're not going to leave me here for very long. I started to move to another position and climb. I took over as CEO, taking us from the $12 million we were up to where we are today, which is 14 million, and headed to 50 million.
Hey everyone, welcome to Marketing Movers. Today we have CJ Bachmann, the CEO of One SEO. They're an award-winning full-service agency that's generated tens of millions of leads for their customers. CJ has been with the company for over 12 years now, and in that time, she worked her way up from being the VP of operations to now being the CEO, and under her leadership, she was able to grow the agency to over 100 employees. So she's got a ton of great insights to share with us on her story and what it takes to build a high-performing agency. We're excited to have you on the show today, CJ. Thanks for joining.
Thanks so much for having me, Sky. I really appreciate it and excited for the conversation.
Absolutely. And where I'd love to start the conversation off today is actually with your story. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, how you ended up at One SEO 12 years ago?
Yeah, and it's actually a funny story, and I talk with my hands. So anybody in the audience, I'm sorry, I'll try to tone it down, but I do talk with my hands. My story is actually, I say that it's unique because I haven't met a lot of people that have the same story. Although today I did have a conversation uniquely with a woman that was very similar. But I grew up in Central Florida on a farm. My dad owned his own business. I was a female that was taught that there were no limitations. So I consider myself very lucky when it comes to that, especially considering, the way that the environment is today and the concerns that women have in the workplace and all of that kind of stuff. But regardless, I was a very driven individual. But ultimately, I was driven to not be barefoot and pregnant in a southern state. I was driven not to take over my father's business at the time. And because I had worked for my dad, at a very young age, I didn't want to work with family. I had this dream, this vision of climbing the corporate ladder because that's what we're taught. That's what you hear in school and all of that kind of stuff. When I initially went into college, I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be able to work with ADHD students and really help them flourish in a system that wasn't built for them. I really quickly realized that as a teacher, especially in the state of Florida, I would have absolutely no control over the curriculum. And that was really devastating at the time. So I really had to decide, what my plan was. And that's when I decided the corporate ladder, going into business and really figuring it out. I ultimately ended up having to drop out of college. So I'm literally sitting here as the CEO of One SEO with not a single, college degree. So completely bootstrapped here. But what I ended up doing was joining a corporation, the largest company that I could find in the area that I was in. I walked in and I said, I want to work here. And they're like, we only have a receptionist job. And I'm like, I'll take it. You're not going to leave me here for very long. And I just became a student and I just absorbed anything and everything that was happening around me. And within 3 months, I started to move to another position and climb. And I ultimately wound up doing sales and marketing for this corporation. And what I learned throughout there was that, being raised the way that I was raised without limitations was just in my head. The world was putting a ton of limitations on me that I didn't know. So it really taught me how to persevere. I had to figure out how I could walk in a room with 2 builders or 3 or 4 or 5 builders and convince them to do business with me instead of the male person that was sitting there from another, company. Why do you, taking someone to lunch was completely different, right? So I had to learn to sell myself in the right way. I had to learn to showcase my talent and be better than the people around me. And that was ultimately what I took with me moving forward. So when I moved to Pennsylvania, I worked in sales and marketing for a contractor, heating and air conditioning, HVAC company. And I brought all of that insight with me to One SEO when I joined them in 2011. One SEO was started in 2009 with one purpose in mind, and that was to help the small business owner grow their business through local internet traffic. As we grew, we brought on new services. We brought in different types and styles of clients, but I ultimately started at One SEO as a project manager. I literally started, I don't want to say ground floor because our project managers, it's probably the hardest position we have inside this company. They deal with the most, but they also have the ability to, help the company grow single-handedly. I got my start building processes for a new company, right? They didn't, I joined from day one as a consultant, but when I came in year two as an actual employee, there was not a single process or procedure inside the organization.
Mm.
So I had to build those for myself because that's how I function, right? I need strategy, I need a process. So I built it for myself, which ultimately led me to moving into that VP of operations role where I was building processes and procedures for the entire company. Then that moved me into COO where I was, dealing with the human capital aspect, making sure we had the right bodies in the right seats. In September of 2021, I took over as CEO with the intent and purpose of really taking us from the $12 million company we were, up to where we are today, which is 14 million. And sky's the limit. We're headed to 50 million. And that's, our big, hairy, audacious goal. But ultimately, my journey is all about my experiences and learning as I go. I never dreamt of being a CEO. What I did dream of was helping people persevere, helping people overcome. So what I've realized, especially over the course of the last couple of years, is even though I didn't get a degree to become a school teacher, I teach every single day, all day. I'm teaching people how to deal with obstacles. I'm teaching clients how to understand, their marketing material. I'm teaching business owners how to put, a marketing first mentality. I'm teaching my leadership how to become better leaders and how to understand the human capital. So that's my story in a nutshell. Hopefully that gave you enough insight.
No, I think it's a super cool story. And I think you have an interesting background. As I think about myself, I'm kind of like reflecting on my own stories. You're telling yours. And I'm like, man, I didn't even know that entrepreneurship was like an option as like a path growing up. I just didn't I didn't have like exposure to it. And it wasn't until my, mid 20s where I really started to think about, hey, maybe this is something I could do too. If I was to start my own business, what would it be? And I'm curious, growing up with your dad owning his own business, what was that business and what was that like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my dad owned a fencing company, and ultimately they did fencing, blackboard fencing. It started out as like Crisso and things like that, but they did fencing that was built for keeping livestock, in. So barbed wire fencing and all of that. So when my dad started his business, we went from being a very, very poor family, like very, very poor family, to a family that all of a sudden had money, right? So there was a couple of things that I have found throughout that is I learned the power of money in a way that a lot of people didn't, because I got to experience the lack of it. And then I got to experience, seeing the changes that it made. So when I look at money, I think I look at money a lot differently. My siblings, I'm the oldest. So all my siblings, they don't remember, before dad started his business. So the fencing business was really all about, for me, it taught me understanding the difficulties that human capital puts on a business, right? So keeping the right talent, finding the right talent, understanding what that talent needs. And even though this was a business where it was very manual, it was very blue collar, all of the obstacles that I face today, I can relate back to the same types of obstacles that, my father faced back when the business was first started. I was the kid that on my summer break, I was walking behind a trailer, pulling fence posts off and lining them up. I was taking the four-wheeler, the ATV, and driving barbed wire. So it really, I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty, I think is the biggest thing. But ultimately, it also taught me the difficulty of working with family, right? And being able to, have a voice, and have that voice be heard and not offend and step on toes. So when I, came to One SEO, I had to bring a lot of those skills here because we were a family business. The business was started by a brother-sister team, and they wanted to keep that intact. So a lot of the obstacles that I overcame or understood about my dad's business, I was able to bring to One SEO and help here as well.
That's so fascinating. I listened to Alex Hormozy, and he talks about how, at the once you get high enough in certain levels of business, they're kind of all the same. It's like you're managing people, you've got sales and marketing, you've got HR, you've got your different departments. And like on one side, I totally get where you're like, coming into yourself and you're like, I don't really want to do this like fencing thing. Like, even if I am going to like have my own business, maybe this isn't the pathway that I go down. And then now I'm sure like retroactively looking back at your story and like the lessons that were hidden in there, it's like a lot of the perseverance and like the willingness to get your hands dirty. The same lessons apply even now with a marketing agency.
Yeah, and with hindsight, you look back too, and like you had said, you didn't realize that entrepreneurship was, an option. I did, but because of the, seeing the struggle, seeing the frustrations, like even helping at 16 years old, I did all the invoicing, right? So I had to
Wow.
create the invoices and I would take and drop them off. So I was seeing the lack of people paying their invoices, right? Or, when it came time for payroll, they show up really quickly to grab that paycheck or, that padded envelope, right? So I think that in itself actually had a negative effect on me because it's like, oh my God, starting a business and I have to deal with all that stuff. Like, that's not like, I don't want to deal with that. Yeah, give me a job, give me a task list, let me check them off, give me my attaboy that I did a good job, and I'll go about my business. So I think it swayed me in a different direction, which gave me time to like grow up as a person and decide what I want to be, which now has gotten me back to the point where, okay, well, eventually one day I will own another business and, move forward. And I won't have those same fears and those, same worries that I had seeing, my father's struggles. So I'm excited about the future, but yeah, I encourage anyone to, give it a go and try.
Yeah. And it seems like now you've got like a really big vision for your life and the business. I'm curious, at 14 million with a goal of getting to 50 million, what's the strategic focus? Like, how do you plan on getting there?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that is really part of our strategic focus is narrowing down the niches that we want to serve and really fine tuning that. And I think most agencies, you'll see that happens. You start off as kind of that catch all, right? You're just dealing with, a certain size business. For us, it was all small businesses, right? So we just wanted to help the SMB. Ultimately, where we are in the stage of marketing now, in order for us to scale and get to where we want to be, we have to help the businesses that we work with also scale and get to where they want to be. And that means that the solutions that we're providing them have to go past just the typical digital marketing stuff that you'll see because
Right.
marketing is changing. So part of our plan as we move forward and what we're working on now are being able to provide not just digital marketing for our clients, but a full set of marketing solutions. Working with our clients more in a consultative approach to find out if things like TV and radio might be better avenues for them, right? Not everybody needs Google PPC, and God, please Google gods, don't smack me. My rep's going to be mad that I said that. But not every business is benefiting from your regular digital advertising. It's changed.
Yeah.
COVID made a bunch of changes for us. AI has made a bunch of changes for us. So ultimately, that is the plan, is really serving a set group of people and being able to provide them with a set amount of options that benefit them in a way that's specific to their industry and not just here's our packages, from A, B, and C.
Right. Right. That's, it's interesting from what I've heard. I've never built a business that big, but from what I've heard in the private equity space, it's one of the first strategies that they implement when they buy a new company. They're like, well, let's look at who do we deliver the most value for, who has the best lifetime gross profit for the customer, who do we like to deal with the most, and like, let's narrow down on that 20% and make that the whole business. Have you guys decided what niches you want to focus on?
Yep. So for the last year, we've been focusing on 3 divisions, is what we call them. So home services, health and wellness, and professional services. So home services like your HVAC, your plumbers, your electricians, contractors, pest control, lawn care. Professional services like lawyers, accountants, CPAs, wealth management advisors, and then health and wellness such as doctors, dentists, med spas, plastic surgeons, yoga studios. What connects all of them is it's the human to human element.
Mm-hmm.
Our goal at One SEO is to provide the spark that connects our clients with their ideal customer. That's what we
I
want to
love
do.
that.
We want to deal with humans. So all 3 divisions that we serve are local type businesses that serve their local communities. And we're able to do that across the US and Canada. And then, like I had mentioned before, we take that a step further and we're actually developing specific channels and solutions that are specific to those industries. So, for example, the way an HVAC company gets business is drastically different than the way a lawyer is getting business. Right? Those needs are completely different, the people they're communicating with. So we need to have the right solutions for an HVAC company and the right solutions for an attorney and the right solutions for a yoga studio. It's not a one size fits all, and it's not all digital. So I would say that's the biggest transition that we have right now is over the past year. We've decided on those three divisions and we've been developing our products and our solutions around those industries.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm curious how that changes, if at all, the acquisition strategy. Is it now just more so about like filtering the traffic that's already coming in, or do you have to make adjustments to who you're targeting, how you attract these more specific types of customers?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's definitely changes that happen across your messaging, when it comes to marketing to them. So when we look at marketing, we basically look at ourselves as having three different businesses, right? So each one of those divisions has a different funnel that has to happen. There's a different cycle time, a different way that they sell. So the whole entire company is divisionalized, and that's how we're able to make it work. So we've got a third that works on one, a third that works on the other, and a third that works on the other. So that way we're becoming experts in those areas and making the clients feel confident that we're able to accomplish what we need to accomplish because we've set a goal of understanding those divisions inside and out.
That makes a lot of sense. Do you guys have any channels in terms of like acquisition for the agency that are the most effective?
Yeah, so depending on the division, there's a lot of different ones, but we have normal channels such as Google and Meta, your Facebook advertising. We have found a lot of success for a lot of our home service clients in Yelp. Yelp has been phenomenal for them. We also have profiles that have been extremely beneficial as well. So in the legal field, there are several profiles like FindLaw, in which the client or the attorney is able to get links back from this massive website that has so much domain authority that it sends constant, lead drivers. So our goal in that is building out those profiles, optimizing those profiles for maximum return so that as those clients or those leads are coming, they're more quality. Because the profiles are optimized correctly. So I would say that's like the biggest thing. Ultimately, we like a cross-channel approach. We want to make sure that we're able to test a plethora of channels with our clients to find out what really is working for them. And sometimes when they come to us, you can see that immediately inside of their analytics. And sometimes they haven't utilized certain channels. So you need to test that, see how those channels perform to provide that right insight back to our client.
That makes sense. In terms of the industry, like I imagine trying to grow that much with all of the AI and all these big like changes that are coming through, what are you guys paying attention to as the industry is changing so much?
Yeah. So I honestly, are you familiar with EOS?
Yes.
Okay. So EOS has really helped in this regard because of their rocks, right? So those quarterly based like tasks. So one of the things that we have done with the EOS system is we have used that as a way of continuing education. So every single quarter, there are certain people that are tasked with rocks to be able to provide insights, data, collateral, and things on new trends that are happening, new alerts that are going on. We're also premier partner with a lot of the people that we work with. So Google is constantly sending us their updates so that we can look in, we can validate them, we can provide that information. Partners with Yelp, they send us over all their insights. So we've got multiple ways of getting that information in. And then we have a newsletter that goes out to our clients on a monthly basis that talks about what's happening in the industry. What's changing? What are new solutions that are coming, down the pipe? What's going on with Google in the court system, right? The rising costs. How are we counteracting that? So I say it's a combination of, having an environment where we encourage people to learn and bring ideas to the forefront, and then also utilizing that rock system and tasks and to-dos to make people accountable for bringing information. Like my team leads, they have to receive X number of insights from their team on a regular basis. And that's how the teams are able to bring in new automations, uncover new tools, and keep up with industry standards and changes.
That's interesting. So you have like an established kind of communication cadence, and it sounds like KPIs around going to market, looking for those insights, and then disseminating them across the rest of the organization.
Yep. And you had mentioned about how, once you reach a certain stage inside your business, they all kind of look the same. And that's because they basically all have four components, four departments. So you've got your product development, right? So a group of people that are responsible for understanding the products that you're going to market with. Is it the right solution? Is it hitting the right people? All of that. Then you've got your revenue operations, right? So your sales team, your client success team, partnerships, all of that goes under the revenue. Then every business has their product delivery, right? The group of people that execute. So that's either your engineers who are building your software, your SEO strategists who are actually doing the optimization, but you've got your product delivery, and then you've got your finance and admin side of it. So as long as you focus on all four of those divisions and making sure that they're set up properly, it drives the business forward. And that's where we're able to utilize, EOS and other things that we've learned along the way to really kind of establish that built-in need for education.
Right. Do you imagine as you're starting to expand the services that you offer, the team structure that you have within these different departments is also going to change?
I think where it will change is there will be new departments that pop up, right? So, for example, one of the departments that's being developed right now, because it's happening so often, is a profile department. So that's just a group of people who are responsible for optimizing profiles. So whether that is your Google Business profile, your FindLaw profile, your ClassPass profile, whatever it may be, but that's something that didn't exist last year, right? But the need for having those profiles optimized and kept and managed properly is huge. So now there's going to be a new department that opens up around that. I had mentioned, and we don't just offer digital marketing. We have the ability to help our clients with over the top advertising. So your streaming advertising, direct mail, billboards. So eventually, as those channels start to pick up more and more for our clients, those will become departments as well. So that's how it will spearhead additional growth inside the organization.
Very cool. Well, this has been a super fun conversation for me, and I've really enjoyed learning from you and hearing your story. For anyone else who wants to continue the conversation with you, where should they go?
Yeah, absolutely. They can find me on all the social media channels under CJ Bachman 1 SEO. But the easiest way is just to go to our website, www.oneseo.com. You'll be able to contact us directly there, see the different services that we offer, see the types of clients that we serve, and happy to help anyone that has their mindset on growing their business.
Thanks so much, CJ. Great to talk to you.
You as well, Sky. Thank you.
Bye.